Hi, this is Dr. Paul from the Dr. Paul Show. Before I get into what I'm going to talk about today, which is fentanyl, please press like and subscribe so you can stay up to date with the current topics. Today I want to talk about, again, about fentanyl. We hear about it a lot. It's one of the top killers in our country. It's a narcotic that basically has taken over. What's happened over the last years is that it basically comes mostly from Mexico. Is where the drug cartels make it there. They've been shipping it over the open border of the United States, at the southern border. Some of it comes from Canada, but a lot of the ingredients to make it come from China. So China basically sends it to Mexico instead of the U.S. because it's too easy to get caught here. And basically, ever since fentanyl came, heroin's pretty much gone away. Now, the reason why is because heroin basically lasts longer, several hours. Fentanyl lasts maybe 15, 30 minutes. And why is it so deadly? Well, opiates are extremely deadly, and fentanyl is extremely deadly because of the fact that people don't know how much they're taking. So basically what happens if you take too much, you stop breathing. This is when you hear about people turning blue. And what people just do is, they just stop breathing. The only way of saving their life is a medication called Narcan. If you inject Narcan into them, then they wake up. What's really dangerous nowadays is that a lot of the street drugs were laced with fentanyl. So even things like if someone's buying Xanax on the street or Klonopin or Valium, you just don't know if you're buying on the street if it's laced. There's a doctor I know whose son was at a party, and he took a pill that someone gave him, and he dropped over dead. And this is happening a lot to young people. It could be, I've heard of, there's a patient of mine whose brother died, who was going out to see his friend and did a couple lines of cocaine that he had bought, and the cocaine was laced with fentanyl, and he died. It can happen with any kind of street opiate. So people buying OxyContin on the street or Norco or Vicodin, thinking that they're going to get a little bit of high off of that, then they die because it's laced with fentanyl. So you can never ever trust a street drug. If you ever need to get a drug, always get it from the pharmacy. It's way too risky. And so, but again, why do people get so addicted to it? The reason is because they like it. It's a very relaxing state. So a lot of the people, like the street people you see out on the street laying around not moving, they're probably on fentanyl, and they're and then the problem is, though, when it wears off, and if you don't do it again and again, you're going to get sick. And we call it dope sick. And what dope sick is they get very sick. They get nauseous. They throw up. They say their body is like aching all over. They have severe pain. They're shaking, and they feel like the only way of getting better is to do it again. And then they have to do it again and again. And so, if anyone's seen the movie Ray, which was about Ray Charles, who was addicted to heroin, and there was a scene where he was in the hospital because he got arrested. He went into a rehab, and then you see the scene where he was getting sick over and over again because he was coming off the heroin. But like I said, heroin is a lot, believe it or not, less dangerous than fentanyl. People get fentanyl in prisons. In prisons, believe it or not, they get a lot of drugs in there. A lot of stuff is sneaked in there. A big warning. If any parent is watching this, or any kid is watching this, have a sit down with their kids and say, have them watch this video, or just tell them, look, I heard from a doctor. And you just never accept any pill or anything on the street that because you could die from it, and it could be laced with fentanyl. And some kids have heard about it, some haven't, and some might think, oh yeah, there's just mom and dad. But if you have a serious talk with your kids, because again, I've heard some tragic stories, and so I just don't want to keep hearing this. But hopefully, thankfully now, it looks like because of the border being closed better now, it looks like it's going to be more difficult for them to import it. So hopefully that'll start to make a difference. But just a warning about fentanyl, very, very bad stuff. Again, some people think like, oh, I know just enough to get the positive effects that I want without dying, but one little move, and again, some people think that, but then they make a mistake and then they're gone. So, unfortunately, like I said, I think I think it's about 100, maybe 70 or 100,000 people have died from fentanyl each year. It's the number one killer in I think 35 and younger in our society is fentanyl overdose. So so I hopefully you've learned something from this. If you like what you hear, please share this with your family and friends, and please send me any questions or comments, and I will try to answer every one of them. Thank you for listening.